Hello, ladies and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and two things. One, you're probably gonna notice I got a mustache now. I'm gonna rock it. I said, why not? It looks kind of snazzy a little bit, I feel like. I don't know. I gotta still shave the sides a little bit, get it all nice and trimmed up there, but you guys see. Yeah, man. Also, I'm filming on my phone now instead of the GoPro because I think the quality on my phone is better, man. Like, I really do. So if it looks weird and I'm not, like, looking exactly at the camera, it's because it's kind of hard to. Like, I'm looking at the camera right now, like, the lens, but I can't see myself now. So if I look at myself, I'm now not looking at the lens. And it's just annoying. But today we're going to be going over the top 10 cars that I would like to drive at least one day in my life. These are not cars I would like to own. I want to make that very clear. I mean, obviously, I would like to own all these cars if I'd like to drive them, but they're not like my dream cars, if that makes any sense. They're just cars that I want to experience being behind the wheel of them at least once in my life. I hope that makes sense. But without further ado, let's get right into the video with number 20. All right, so coming in at number 20 is any sort of LMP1 car. I don't care if it's a freaking R18 Audi back from the day, a Sauber C9 Mercedes. That's actually technically, I think, Group C. I don't think that's an LMP1 car, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like that style of car, I don't care if it's a brand new 2023. I just want to experience that amount of downforce, but not. I'm gonna give a little bit of a spoiler here. There is no Formula One car on this list, and the reason why I didn't put Formula One on this list is it's just not my style, man. You know, I don't think absolute grip and like stuff like that is just going to be the most fun for me. LMP1 still has that little aspect of like you still got to be able to handle the car, and it talks to me, man. It talks to me. I don't know. Sure, F1 you could say is like better in every regard than an LMP1 car, but it's just LMP1 it just screams my language. Coming in at the number 19 spot is going to the Chevy Camaro ZL1 1LE. Is this weird? Is it random? Does it make no sense? Yeah, sure it does. All right, buddy. But here's the thing. I'm not really into the muscle car thing. You guys know that. You know, I'm not really a big advocate on it. I'm not going on to protest being like, Ford sucks, Chevy rules, huge rule, you smell like stools. I don't say that. I just have my personal opinions on them. And my personal opinion is that I like Camaros the best. I think they look the coolest. The fact that they had the LSs, I know they don't have them anymore, but the fact that they did is really cool. And they're just cool cars. And this car handles incredibly well. And that's like, I want the muscle car experience of like going fast in a straight line, but I love cars that can handle. And the fact that this car is still in like the top 25 Nürburgring times for production cars is insane. It is such a cool car in that regard, and I would love to experience that. Coming in at the number 18 spot is going to the BMW M8 Competition. This one I just want to drive because it's like the ultimate luxury mobile, in my opinion. Obviously, it's really fast. It's an M8 comp. They're really fast cars. I think they make like 650 horsepower. It's insane. They're like supercars levels of performance. So that's great. But on top of that, it has an insane interior. Like it's spacious inside. It's comfortable to drive. Sure, is it unreliable? Yeah. But that's why, you know, this is a drive at one time and not have to worry about owning it type of video. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would love to just experience like that level of luxury mixed with the level of performance that the BMW M8 has. I know there are some other BMWs that have done that, and I'm sure there are some Mercedes and Audis that have done this exact same thing, but I've always been a big BMW fan, and this thing is just so like my style, man. Coming in at 17, this is going to be like a little bit of a weird one because it's not just like a stock car, but it's a Mazda Miata with an LS swap. Not just a normal Mazda Miata. I have driven in a regular Mazda Miata, an NA Miata, and it is a fun little go-kart of a car, and I didn't really like hate it. I didn't really love it, though. It was just kind of there. But with an LS swap, that's a different story. It's LS's stock can make like 300 to 350 horsepower, so literally all this car has to do is have a stock LS in it to double the amount of horsepower that it makes from factory. But then on top of that, obviously you're not going to keep an LS stock, so it's going to be even faster, and that is just really awesome. Obviously I would like to drive it in like a massive wide open parking lot so I don't accidentally hit into a school bus full of like 15 children, but I would still love to experience it, man. Just burning up the back tires on a freaking little Miata with an LS under the hood, and it sounds like an LS, like, yes please. Coming in at the number 16 spot is going to the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 992. This is the newest GT3 RS. If I get the chance to drive a GT3 RS in my life, and it's like 5 years later, then I'm going to want to drive that version. I pretty much just want to drive the newest version of the GT3 RS. I don't have like a set generation that I'm like really set on. Like that's my favorite. I just want to drive a GT3 RS. The reason why is I just want to see the hype for it. Everybody hypes these cars up on the internet nowadays. Everybody says they're like one of the best cars out there, and I want to see why they say that. Are they actually one of the best like handling cars out there? Are they actually that good to drive? I don't know. I want to see. Bring it to the Nürburgring. Let me hop in one of these things, and I'll be happy. Coming in at the number 15 spot is a car that I would never even if I made billions of dollars, I would never even think about buying this thing because of, well, I'll explain. It's the Ferrari FXK Evo, and the reason why I would never do it is because I think the practice and the way that Ferrari goes about selling this car is an absolute insult to every human being out there that wants to buy these cars. I think it's literally just a big middle finger to the purchase, but to the buyer, and that's ridiculous. You can't own the car personally. You own it for driving it at the Ferrari test track. That's pretty much it. You can drive it there, and that is it. You don't get to take it home. And then on top of that, if at any point Ferrari for some reason goes bankrupt or wants to take that car back, they can, and that is an absolute insult to me. Like, that's stupid. But the car itself is really, really cool. It's literally like an LMP1 car, but that should be for the streets. 14th is actually going to the first rally car of this list, but not the last, the Ford RS200. I know that the RS200 is not the best rally car ever made. It's a Group B car, and it was pretty average in terms of its performance in Group B. I get that. There are tons of better Group B options out there. I don't care because it's freaking awesome. It is so like small, and a lot of like Group B rally cars, most of them were pretty small too, but a lot of them are actually bigger than people realize. Like, they're large cars, whereas the RS200 was not that way. It was a very tiny car. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible, and it's got like just such a nice little wheelbase to it that I feel like I personally would have the most fun driving this thing. And also, I don't need to drive it on a rally course, bro. You give me it on like a freaking highway and I'll be fine. I don't care as long as I get to drive it. 13th is actually a car that does shine on the highway, the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute, whichever one the fastest one is right now. I think it's the Absolute, but I don't know because I'm pretty sure they never actually like made that yet. They just kind of said they're making that. I don't know. I'm not a Koenigsegg like big guy, I don't really pay attention to that stuff. But the Jesko I know is one of the fastest cars in the world right now. It could even be the fastest car in the world if I'm not mistaken. But on top of that, Koenigsegg itself has just always been my style. They obviously care about car guys, whereas other hypercar brands like Pagani, Bugatti, it's very obvious that they don't care about car guys. Like, all they care about is like selling a status symbol, whereas Koenigsegg cares about selling a car that a car guy is going to have a lot of fun with, and that's really cool to me. And then the Jesko is also incredibly beautiful, and they can go incredibly fast, and I just want to experience a hyper car that's built for car guys. Like, I don't even like, spoiler alert, there's not a Bugatti, there's not a Pagani on this list, because I don't want to, well, I do want to drive them, but they're not like one of my top 20, because they're not for me. They're not built for a guy like me who likes cars. They're built for just people who want to have a symbol. 12th place, however, is going to the second BMW, because I'm a BMW fanboy, the BMW 3.0 CSL. This is an old race car that BMW used to make. They obviously haven't made them in a while. Although I do remember them saying that they were gonna like bring it back. If I remember correctly, I think it was gonna be they were gonna make like an M4 3.0 CSL. But either way, the regular 3.0 CSL is just it sounds incredible. It's like the ultimate BMW flat six race car. And I know people are like, oh, well, what about the M3 GTRs, like the M6 LMs? Like, what about all those cars? Yeah, they're cool and they're awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I just want to experience that raw, old, hard to handle BMW from the freaking 80s, man. That would be so cool to me. And they shoot flames like crazy. They look insane. They're silhouette cars, so they look awesome. I want to experience that. 11th place, I feel like you guys knew this car was going to be here if you know Mark Roden, but you probably expected it to be a lot higher, actually. It's the Mazda RX7 FD. This is my dream car. If I could have any car in the world right now, I would choose an FD RX7. I don't know why. People are going to be like, well, this guy would choose a Mazda over a Lambo? Yeah, man, I would choose a Mazda over a Lambo. I like this car. I think it looks really good. It sounds really good. Everything about it's really, really cool. I don't really have to explain myself as to why I want to drive it, because there's really no reason why I should have to explain myself. It's my dream car. Obviously, I'm going to want to drive it if it's my dream car. But I will say the reason why it's at number 11 is because a lot of the following cars, I would rather own the FD RX7 over it. However, if I could just drive it once and not have to worry about all the other things about the car, I would choose the other ones over it, if that makes any sense. Breaking its way into the top 10 is a car that constantly kind of fights with the FD RX7 actually as my dream car, the Lamborghini Merci Lago SD. I am not a supercar guy. I'm not. You guys know that. I never really have had like dreams of owning supercars in my life. But for some reason, every time I think about cool cars, the Murcielago SV picks itself back up and brings itself into the conversation. I love the Murcielago with all my heart. I freaking Lamborghini nailed it with this car. It is so gorgeous. The way the little wings pop up on the back is sick. The Lamborghini V12 is just iconic. I want to experience a V12 in the Lamborghini. Like, yes, please. They're unbelievable. In the gated manual. Give me a gated manual Murcielago SV, and I am the happiest man on the planet. I am the happiest man on the planet by a long shot. I'll do anything for a Murcielago SV. You want me to spread propaganda out there for the children? Give me a Murcielago SV and I'll do it. It's a freaking beautiful car. Coming in at the number 9 spot is kind of another like Miata situation. It's the Nissan GTR R32, however, fully built. Obviously, these cars, and I don't mean built. People like, whenever people say like built nowadays, they always imagine like drag cars, like cars that are fast in a quarter mile. I don't mean that. I mean built in the terms of like what Nissan wanted this car to be built for, which is like racing, actual racing on a circuit, you know, track racing. I would love to experience that. These cars were like the homologation bandits back in the freaking 90s when they came out. These things were untouchable. They were insane at racing. And I want to experience how they did that. What did it feel like? Godzilla, the R32 GTR all-wheel drives. I want to experience that, man. I would not want to own an R32 GTR, honestly. I really wouldn't. I don't think, I mean, if I had a ton of money, I would probably buy one, but it wouldn't be like my first one. But I want to experience it. I want to experience what made these cars so great in the 90s. I had to do it. I had to include at least one truck on the list. And in my personal opinion, the one truck I would want to drive out of all the trucks in the world is a Dodge Ram TRX, or T-Rex. People call it the T-Rex, but it's not that. It's not that, man. Enough of your nicknames. I don't like it. But yeah, if I had to drive one truck, it would be this thing. This thing is just a freaking, it's like a Baja truck, but for the road, and that's cool. I know that the Ford Raptor R is like that, and I think they even did something with the Chevy Colorado where it's like the ZR2 or something like that. I don't care. I want to drive the Dodge Ram TRX because it looks sick. I don't care which one's faster. It's awesome. It's manly. It's got incredibly wide arches on it. It's cool. I want to drive this thing. 7th place, another rally car, but yes, you're right. Not the last rally car. The Audi Sport Quattro S1E2 is probably the most famous rally car to ever exist. Hands down, period, queen. It is it. You know, this is the rally car. And so since it is the rally car, and since everybody loves this thing, I want to know why. I think if you're a car guy, and somebody came up to you and had an Audi Sport Quattro S1E2 and said, hey, do you want to drive this? And you said no, I think at that point, it is by law, the rest of the car community has to come and beat you to a pulp. I think that is just the law, because this thing is a monster. And if you don't want to experience this, what is wrong with you? Like, serious, even if you're not a car guy, why would you not want to drive this thing? Pretty much all the cars on this list, you could say that for, to be honest, but like that one really stuck out for me to like a car that I felt like I had to include. You know, it's impossible for me not to include it. Whereas the Mercedes CLK GTR, which is the number 6 spot, isn't like that. I feel like a lot of people kind of sleep on the CLK GTRs. Now, obviously, they're very famous cars. You know, they got a lot of hype. But like it came out during the time where like the 911 Strassen version or whatever they called it, the GT1 911, that came out. The McLaren F1 came out during this time too. And everybody always talks about those cars and kind of forgets about the CLK GTR. These were like, remember how like everybody talks about the Ferrari LaFerrari, Porsche 918 Spider, and the McLaren P1 is like the holy trinity of the 2010s? This was the holy trinity of the 90s, those 3 cars. And the CLK GTR is my personal favorite of them. The way it just flows, I cannot believe I'm saying this, by the way, but this is a cool Mercedes. I hate Mercedes. I think almost every other Mercedes besides this one sucks. But this one is freaking insane. 5th place, it's funny how all the JDM cars are modified, but that's kind of what JDM is, you know, so it makes sense. But it's a Honda Integra Type R, but a time attack version of it. These guys, the fastest time attack car in the world was a Acura RSX, an all-wheel drive Acura RSX, or I guess Honda Integra Type R, but DC5, but we know it as the RSX. But either way, these guys, they know how to make these little Hondas insanely quick, and I want to see that. I have an Integra. I have a DC4 Integra LS, and it's really fun. It's a really fun little nippy car. It's not fast in a straight line, but it's stock, so I don't expect it to be fast in a straight line. But if I could experience that amount of like nippy grip and handling and all that stuff, but built over the top by a professional team, count me in. Count me in. Where do I sign up? Is there a waiver I have to sign? Because I will do it. It's insane. Time attack is like my favorite form of motorsports too, and the fact that it's just a little Honda makes it even better. So yeah, Give me. Fourth place, I did specify one certain bike here, but I really mean all street bikes. I did the BMW S1000 RR. I've always wanted street bikes ever since like 15 years old when I first found out about like how cool they actually are and how fast they actually are. I've always kind of dreamed about owning them. As I got older, I realized I'm really irresponsible and immature, and so owning a street bike is probably not the best idea for my personal lifestyle choices. I'm not saying that everybody else shouldn't own one. If you want to own a street bike and you take the necessary precautions and you're safe and you know what you're doing, I absolutely think they're an incredible option for somebody that just wants to have a lot of fun. Me personally, I don't think so. But if I could drive one, now we're talking. If I had a BMW S1000 RR in my garage, that's a problem. You know, I might injure myself. I might injure a family accidentally. But if I like walked out of my house and somebody's like, "Hey, buddy, I got a BMW S1000 RR for you. Take it out for a little bit." Now I'm talking, you know? Now, I would like to start on like an R3 and then an R6 and then like, you know, 300cc, 600cc, then get up to the 1000cc. But if the only option is jumping on the 1000cc straight away, I mean, I guess I'm taking the risk because I'm doing it. Third place, we're into the podium finishes, babies. It's the McLaren P1 GTR. I love the McLaren P1. If you guys know Mark Roden, you know he loves the McLaren P1. The Mazda RX7 FD, Lamborghini Merci Lago SV, McLaren P1. Those are like the Mark Roden holy trinity right there. I love them. I love all three of those cars so much. The McLaren P1 is just absolutely gorgeous. It is also my favorite like hypercar of all time, period. And on top of that, when they made the GTR version, I was just like, that's ridiculous. They shouldn't have done that, you know, but they did, and I'm happy that they did, but they shouldn't have, because it's, you got a McLaren P1, it's already an insanely fast hypercar, and they're like, you know what, let's make it even better. Here's a GTR version of it, and I get why they did it, you know, the McLaren F1 GTR, so they were trying to kind of like stand up to that, like pay homage to that thing, but goodness gracious, it was out of this world, and I want to experience it, man. I want to experience normal McLaren P1, but the GTR version is even cooler, so. Now we're on to the last of the rally cars. Second place is the Subaru 22B STI. I'm a big fan of JDM cars, as you guys know. So obviously, one of my favorite of the rally cars is going to be a JDM one, because I like JDM stuff. It just speaks to me on a different level. Call me a 12-year-old all you want. I like that kind of stuff. But the Subaru 22B STI is, even if it wasn't like for my love of JDM, I would still want to drive these. Subaru has perfected the all-wheel drive system. Maybe not as good as Audi. I mean, it's kind of like a debate there. You could argue back and forth all day, every day about Subaru or Audi's all-wheel drive systems and which one's better. But I think Subaru has done just incredibly well with it. Colin McRae obviously showed that these cars are insane. Colin McRae actually drove the Legacy RSs mainly, but he also did take part with the Subaru 22B STIs. But either way, you know, Colin McRae stood up for Subaru. If he says they're a good brand, if he can make them, if he can bring them to a championship, then they're probably pretty damn good. Yes, he's an incredible racer, and I'm not saying like he couldn't have done that if he was in a Ford RS200, but either way, no matter how good of a racer you are, if you don't have a good enough car against these other professional racers, you got to keep that in mind. You know, it's not like he was driving against me or you. He was driving against other professional race car drivers. He probably wouldn't have won. So Subaru is obviously incredible. I want to experience the 22B STI. But first place, I mean, I feel like I don't even have to explain myself in the slightest bit here. The Mazda 787B is a Group C monster of a race car that everybody in the world now knows of. Just when you think of renown, you think of the 787B. When you think of the 787B, you think of that orange and green renowned paint job. It is just hand in hand together. I want that. I want that in my life. It's like, remember how I started this off talking about how I like the LMP1 cars? I do like the LMP1 cars, and the LMP1 cars are absolutely sick. But the freaking Mazda 787B, the Sauber C9, that generation of like Group C race cars really honestly paves the way for cars like what we have now in terms of LMP1 and stuff like that. And then 787B also sounds incredible. Was it like the best race car of the Group C class? No, not at all. You know, it definitely wasn't the best one out there. The Sauber C9, it was probably the best one, but the 787B just does everything else better. The sound, the way it looks, the way it handles. I mean, I've never actually driven it in real life, but the way it handles in Forza, I know it's super realistic, but yeah, it's just my style, man. And it's JDM, and it's Mazda. It's got a rotary under the hood. Like, that's just freaking cool. I love it. I think you'd have to be a psychopath not to love the 787B. If I could drive any car in the world for like around a track, it would be the 787B. But ladies and gentlemen, I forgot we're filming on the phone, so this is so annoying. The quality is so much better. Like, come on. Don't tell me that quality is not better, boys. It's so much better. You can see my like glistening eyeballs right now somehow. Like, that was never the case on the GoPro. But it's just kind of annoying because it's like I can't tell where I'm looking. Like right now I'm looking at you guys, but now I'm not. Now I am. Now I'm not. Now I am. Now I am. But like if I'm looking here, I can't see myself. If I'm looking here, I can't see you guys. It's annoying. So I don't know. I like it, but I don't like it. It's tough. Also, let me know, guys, you guys like the stash, man. I might look like a P3DO file, but I sure hope not, because I like it a lot and I don't want to look that way. Look at that bad boy. Also I gotta shave the sides. I know I gotta like clean that all up. It's still like kind of scruffy there, but yeah, I like it. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. We just hit 90,000 subscribers, by the way. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, I literally just checked it last night. We freaking passed the 90K. So obviously you guys know that means it's gonna be a top 90 sports car list pretty soon, I guess. I mean, it's gonna take some time, 90 cars. But it's gonna happen, so thank you guys for that. And then at 100K, we'll do the 100 cars list, but we are not doing any more after that, man. I'm sorry, I can't do 110, 120, 130 cars for under 10K. It just takes so much time. It is freaking, I will sit there after I'm done making these like big videos where it's like the 90 sports cars or 80 sports cars, whatever, under 10K. I literally sit there for the rest of the night and I'm just like depressed, bro. It's just not good. It is not good. So I'm not gonna do it after the 100K. But for 90K, there will be a video. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.